hear the word change, how does your mind or your body react? Is your instinct to push it away for fear of the unknown? Or do you embrace the concept with open arms and curiosity for what is yet to come? Let's face it, change is inevitable. It's an inevitable part of life, so there's no making it go away. Now, we can learn to stop being controlled by change and to learn to strategically navigate the waves of the unknown instead. Now, in this webinar, I'm not going to be talking to you about your organization, nor about the world around you, but this talk is about you and how you may interact with the world around you and how you may respond to the changes that affect you and the world around you. Now, as individuals, we view the world through a set of filters based on our experiences, our values, our assumptions. Now, those filters are either going to limit what we see, a little bit like tunnel vision, or expand what we see like a prism. And that's going to impact how we perceive and what we think about our circumstances. Now, that in turn impacts how we show up in different situations. Now, through our whole lives, we've unconsciously developed filters, which could be holding us back from being able to see our full potential within ourselves and also what our life and our careers have to offer us. Now, in the 5 proven ways to confidently overcome change and uncertainty, I'm going to reveal what those 5 specific filters are that we might have developed and how those filters are influencing the results that you are achieving, and how with a slight adjustment, we're going to be able to see, or you are going to be able to see, all the different possibilities available to you. Now, that in turn is going to help with self-leadership, as well as developing management awareness, effectiveness, and corporate cohesion. Just think, what would be possible if you weren't weighed down with self-doubt, indecision, or judgments when facing change and uncertainty, but you were able to widen up that lens and see the much bigger picture, giving you that freedom of choice so that you can show up with confidence and resilience even during times of stress and uncertainty. So join me to learn how you can thrive through the unexpected rather than simply surviving it. So thank you very much, Fisher, for inviting me to speak really on a subject that I find fascinating, which is the 5 proven ways to confidently overcome change and uncertainty. Now, I'm not going to speak to you about your organization, nor about the world around us. But this talk is about you and how you may interact with your organization and how you may respond to the changes that affect you and the world around you. So my intention is to stimulate ideas, to really think, well, to help you think about how you react to change, especially perhaps change that you don't like very much, and how you could view things differently and more positively when faced with change and uncertainty. So I'm a leadership coach and also corporate trainer, really helping people bridge the success gap with more ease and less stress. Now, this talk uses a framework called energy leadership and the 7 levels of energy. And this was developed following a 10-year research study by a man called Bruce D. Schneider. Now, essentially, you can think of these 7 levels as 7 possible reactions to change, or 7 different ways of approaching work or life in general. Now, in this talk today, I'm only going to be covering 5 of the 7 levels. So managing or confronting change successfully, especially change that we don't necessarily want, requires you, first of all, to reflect on how you currently deal with change, or perhaps what you perceive as adversity. Because remember, we don't want to be controlled by change, but to be able to navigate it successfully. And that sort of self-reflection is not easy in any way. And as Groucho Marx said, looking at yourself in the honesty mirror requires courage, because it can be quite an unpleasant experience. Now, in addition to having courage to examine yourself now, it doesn't necessarily provide you with the answers about how you'd like to face the challenges of the future. So crucially, therefore, we need to have belief, a belief that we can adapt ourselves to change in a way that's positive for us and also potentially makes us more effective at whatever we're doing. Now, we can all adapt, but it takes not just courage to recognize that we might need to, but also confidence to believe that it's possible. And it is possible for all of us. And it's really these levels of energy that act as a framework to really help us understand where we are on a sort of ladder and what the next rung might be. Now, as I go through this talk, I hope that you're going to be able to recognize yourself and your levels that you experience, and also those of the different people around you. Now, that's going to help you relate to them differently or better, or perhaps suggest ways to encourage them to do things differently or better. Now, about 250 years ago, Benjamin Franklin said that change is the only constant in life, and one's ability to adapt to those changes will determine your success in life. Well, that is still true today. So if change is the only constant, then why are we so suspicious of it? Why do we resist it? Now, there are 3 common reasons for this. So we often focus on what we've got to give up rather than what we have to gain. We can experience this loss of control, which really stems from this reluctance to learn new things, perfectionism, and that fear of making mistakes. And we all have this survival instinct that spots potential dangers, and uncertainty triggers that instinct. And so it's really for these reasons that we tend to stay in our comfort zones, sort of far away from uncertainty. And yet familiar things are not necessarily good or even optimal. Now, we can't always choose our life circumstances, but we can choose how we respond to them. And change in life often comes uninvited. So we need to swap fear for curiosity. So swap fear for curiosity and have the willingness to ask ourselves, what does this change really consist of? And might there be another way to view the situation? Now, whilst we're not able to influence what's happening around us, we can learn to control what's happening inside of us. So we all need to summon the courage and the confidence to look at our change of circumstances dispassionately and to have the understanding of who we each are and to garner the confidence to see how we can navigate the change successfully. Now, do these things and we can build resilience in ourselves, and we can all do it. Now, that brings me back to the core of today's presentation, which Bruce D. Schneider refers to as energy leadership, which is really shorthand for determining your overall potential and satisfaction in life. Now, he really defines energy as a compilation of your attitudes, your perceptions, and your beliefs that come through in your thoughts, your feelings and actions. And when you're able to shift these attitudes, perceptions, and beliefs, then your entire perception of reality changes. Now, research shows that people are higher up this energy scale, and those with that ability to be able to shift their level have greater overall life satisfaction. And that can affect things like financial success, communication, health and wellness, relationships, time management, work-life balance, and so on. So now for the sciencey bit. So there are 2 types of energy: catabolic, which is destructive and draining, and anabolic, which is constructive and healing. And yes, these words really do exist. So catabolic energy. So whilst this energy can really give us this sort of energetic boost to combat what we perceive to be a stressful situation, it can also be quite distracting and drain us and really blind us to the potential of the situation. Now, that's going to reduce your choices and also your confidence. Now, this type of energy releases catabolic hormones into the system, like cortisol and adrenaline. Now, useful in the short term in order to get things done. So it's a type of panic mode, if you like, but it can be quite harmful on the body over extended periods of time. Now, anabolic energy. So this is the energy that's behind everything from creativity to intuition to compassion and care. So anabolic energy is going to fuel your body, your perceptions, your interactions. So really helping you move forwards and achieve powerful and sustainable results. Now, this type of energy releases anabolic hormones into the body, such as endorphins and dopamine. Now, both energies serve a purpose, and neither is good nor bad. Both energies serve a purpose, and neither is good nor bad. So if I was to ask you who wants more energy, you might say yes, but only the anabolic type. But just be warned, both can be useful. So let's talk about leadership. So our world tends to define leaders and therefore leadership within the context of quite formally defined roles within organizations. However, true leaders, they're not confined to office walls, and they're not limited to specific roles or positions within those walls, but they're found in families, in groups, in sports, in education, and lots of other places. Now, every interaction with people presents an opportunity to lead and have a positive impact on others. Now, also keep in mind that leadership includes self-leadership. So that's really that ability to motivate yourself to do what needs to get done. So let's turn to the energy leadership framework. Now, the lower levels, level 1 of the victim and level 2 of the fighter, they're tied to catabolic energy. So that's that energy that's draining, that's stressful. And the higher levels of 3 to 7, they're associated with the anabolic energies, which is that energy that's uplifting and leads to sustainable action and results. Now, know that we have all these energies within us, but some of us experience more of a certain level over another. Now, before we get into the levels, I wanted to show you how our thoughts, our feelings, and our actions are inherently linked. So first of all, everything starts with a thought, and our thoughts create create an emotion in terms of how we see the world around us. And that in turn, that emotion influences our behavior and our actions. And finally, this journey really drives an end result. Now, even if this takes place in a matter of seconds, when you understand how everything is linked, you're going to have more control and choice over how you act. And what's just about to follow is going to give you much greater awareness of this. So let's get into the level. So level 1, this is Mr. or Mrs. Doom and Gloom, the victim, powerlessness. So this is the lowest level of energy. It's the should person, where you might hear phrases such as, oh, I have no choice. Why does this always happen to me? There's nothing that I can do about it. So does any of that sound familiar? So it's really that person who lacks enthusiasm and is often just overwhelmed. So if you've got energy at this level, you feel powerless, really at the mercy of events, of thoughts, of beliefs, of emotions and perceptions that are going to hold you back from success. So level 1 energy includes thoughts and feelings of apathy, of guilt, of fear, of worry, self-doubt, and low self-esteem. Now that can be in general or just in certain parts of your life. Now, when operating from a level 1 perspective, people really feel like they've got this lack of choice, this lack of options, often living in the past, replaying events in their minds without ever coming to a conclusion, but just wishing things were different. Now, at level 1, individuals feel trapped by their circumstances, and they see things as being done to them. Now, level 1 energy can result in avoidance. So avoidance of situations or difficult issues, and people can really have troubles making decisions. Now, you're going to feel powerless when you experience this level, and it's going to make changing your reality really quite difficult. Now, emotionally, level 1 energy feels bad, and the amount of desire or engagement and action for life or specific aspects of it is going to be pretty low, which is going to lead to decreased confidence in your abilities to initiate change, let alone really navigate positively what's in front of you. Now, we all experience level 1 energy at times and in certain aspects of our lives. So it is normal. Normal, however, doesn't necessarily mean desirable. So this is a question for the chat. Who here has ever used the word should? I really should go to the gym, or I should call my mother-in-law, or maybe use the words if only I'd gotten that promotion, if only life was different. So just comment yes in the comment box if that sounds at all familiar. I know for me it does, I'll admit to that. Great, well, thank you. I'm getting some support. Thank you, Fairy, Catherine, Michelle. So it is something that's familiar. We all experience it at certain points in our lives. So the question for level 1 is, what would you be able to accomplish if you didn't spend so much time in level 1? You don't need to answer the question, but sorry, Icy, go for it. So let's get into level 2. So level 2 is that Mr. or Mrs. I'm going to get this or else, Mr. Angry or Mrs. Angry, the fighter. So level 2 is by far the easiest energy to identify in other people because it's the most fiery of the levels. Now, it's characterized by conflict with the core emotion of anger. And this energy really contains thinking of antagonism, struggle, resistance, frustration, defiance. Now, when you experience level 2 energy, you might catch yourself or other people saying things like, it's not my fault, it's yours. If you want something done right, just have to do it myself. Or nobody meets my expectations. So if you know your Disneys, I tend to think of Scar from Lion King or Jafar from Aladdin. They're good representations of people experiencing level 2 energy. Remember too that people can be angry and not show it. So it could be that they lead from this quiet anger, but it might be that they hold on to resentments or this resistance that's underneath that isn't quite so obvious. Now, from a level 2 perspective, everything tends to be viewed as black or white, right or wrong, good or bad. And these judgments are going to really limit options because the full scope of available possibilities is just not apparent to the person operating with level 2 energy. Many leaders, this shocks people, but many leaders have or experience level 2 energy. And they can consequently be unhappy and often also unhealthy. They can manage by force or control through micromanaging. And they can really get caught up on focusing on what's wrong, what's broken, and potentially who or what is to blame. So whilst initial results can look good, absolutely, but this way of leading others and organizations will ultimately fail because the effort truly expended to live and to act with this constant catabolic energy, sort of muscling your way through, really through to victory using force or conflict, is going to drain you and also those around you. So who here has experienced some level 2 energy? So either witnessed it in other people or has experienced it for themselves. So just either put your hand up or comment yes in the chat box. Now, those of you with toddlers or teenagers in the house are going to be incredibly familiar with this level of energy. Thank you. I've got a couple of yeses. So either you've got toddlers or you have absolutely witnessed it yourself. Or experienced it yourself. Now, the first two levels, level 1 of powerlessness, the victim, and level 2 of conflict and anger, they're associated with catabolic energy. And the more time one spends in these two levels, the more likely you're going to see life as a struggle, find it really difficult to be motivated, and that's going to heighten your chances of burnout. Now, the remaining levels of 3 to 5, they're characterized by anabolic energies. So we'll get to those in a little bit. And I'm also going to pause for questions. If there's any questions coming up, once Icy's done this translation, I'm happy to answer anything for you. So you're welcome to speak in Chinese, and Icy will very kindly help me understand. Or if you're wanting to go in the chat, Lillian, thank you. Does it mean to skip, so that we can spend less time on the first levels, but we have to solve the problem that were hard to solve? Okay, I think your question is saying, does it mean that we can just avoid those levels and skip over them, or spend less time in them? I think what I'm wanting to do is really help people become more aware, so more conscious of what level they're experiencing. Because there are reasons why we might spend time in level 1. And level 2, there are lots of advantages of getting that fighter energy working for you. And that's going to spur you into action and get you moving forwards. So I'm not saying we skip them. I'm not saying we avoid them because they're useful. I'm saying let's be aware of when we're spending time there and really ask ourselves the question, how is this serving me? So it's about awareness and consciousness. Thank you. I see. Are there any other questions? There will be another moment to ask in a couple of levels' time, and also at the end, if there's anything burning. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Lillian. You said, yes, sometimes I may just put things away and focus on the positive things. You're going to love this level 3. So that absolutely sort of opens us up to this next level. Thank you, Icy. So level 3, as Lillian has very kindly just sort of opened the door for us, we're going to step through into level 3. So this is Mr. or Mrs. It'll be all right on the night. You know, we're going to get it done, or we'll get through this, the rationalizer. Now, level 3 is a really interesting level because it's the gateway into the anabolic energies. Thank you. And I've just seen Fisher. Would you like me to answer this now, Fisher, or shall we pin it for the next question time?
Yeah, we can do it later on. Can do it later.
Sorry, what was the answer to the question?
Yeah, well, we can answer the question afterwards.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. We'll keep it in the chat then.
Yeah.
So back to level 3. So this level is about coping, finding ways to relieve the problem, the pain, the blockage, by covering it up rather than removing it. Now, this allows people to release the negativity and stay focused on the desired outcome and keep things moving forwards. Michelle, I see your question. I'll answer both you and Fisher at the end of level 3. So we get through this level and then we'll take a little pause. So level 3 is the person who says, whatever happens, we'll find a way to manage. Not very positive, but also not terribly negative either. Or they can be found to be saying, you know, it's okay, it's fine, we'll be fine. So essentially we have blinkers on. I like to do this to show that we have blinkers on when we are experiencing a lot of the catabolic energies, so level 1, level 2. And when we start to step into the more anabolic energies, we open up our vision. We start to see more options, which is going to build trust in our abilities. And with that comes more self-confidence. At this level, people at level 3, they take responsibility. take responsibility for their thoughts, their feelings, their actions, and they know that what they think and feel is up to themselves and not other people. Now, they're going to be able to motivate themselves and others by finding ways to cope, to forgive, to tolerate, to compromise, and really explain away resentments and stress, disappointments, and these other burdens in order to encourage really cooperation and productivity. So they tend to make the best of the situation, focusing on the positive, finding that silver lining. And the focus here is really on short-term goal achievement. So this group tends to be quite neutral on change. However, it's not a truly confident leader, the leader at level 3, because his or her main goal is to find the problem or the challenge, rationalize it or fix it so that they can cope or live to a degree that isn't painful. So blocking out that negativity and beginning to get things done. So just in the chat, who else can relate to level 3 energy at times? Just press yes or pop your hand up if I can see you as well. So I'm going to go back to these brilliant questions. So Michelle, you asked, is fear a deeper trigger point to be in level 1 and level 2? And the answer is yes. So what holds you in level 1, level 2 is fear, is attachment, or that need of attachment, and also judgment. There's a lot of judgments that are held when you're in that catabolic energy. You see things as good or bad, right or wrong. They need to be in a certain way, which is going to limit what we're able to do because we only see what's directly in front of us and we forget to see what's all around us. So yes, fear absolutely holds us in those levels. And Catherine makes a brilliant point as well. So you've noticed, Catherine, that the energy levels will change depending on the situation, and that's totally right. So we all have these 7 levels that we can experience at any time. And depending on how we view the situation, whether there's fear involved, whether there's stress involved, will absolutely reflect on which energy level we go to. Now, that doesn't mean that we are one set energy level. And that's what's really exciting. We're not stuck in level 1. We can absolutely, spend some time in level 1 or 2, maybe when our children have triggered us. But then in the office, we spend a lot of time in our level 5, which we haven't yet touched upon. But it can show you that depending on the situation, you can be in different energy levels. So yes, you are right. Thank you, Icy. So I'm going to go to Fisher's question on how do you evaluate someone who is a low energy state and needs adjustment? So I'm not sure if you've ever tried to adjust anyone. They can be quite resistant and not really wanting it. But I think a great way of assessing is there a lot of resistance? Is it somebody who has low engagement, low motivation? Then they're probably finding something in their lives that is keeping them in those lower levels of energy. So maybe it's the work that they're in that really does not suit their attributes, or maybe there's something going on at home, there's a lot of stress, and that's reflected in how they behave. And so what you're seeing is basically what you're seeing, the behavior and the action. What's very difficult to see is what's going on under the surface. So what are the thoughts, the feelings, the beliefs that person holds that might well be keeping them in that catabolic energy? So I'm not sure if that answers your question enough, Fisher. And if you wanted to elaborate, please do. So I think another thing is that tread carefully. And a great way of treading carefully is to offer up an assessment, because that's a very neutral way of people having a mirror held up to them to show how they are showing up and the effect that it has on themselves in terms of their results, but also on other people. So there is an assessment that's linked to energy leadership, which I'll talk about right at the end. But that's quite a soft way of introducing a conversation if somebody's not showing up at the best of their abilities. And that's a lot for you, Icy. I apologize for not to translate. Now, Michelle's asked a question, a follow-up question regarding, so the fear could come from instinct or something against somebody's value structure. And absolutely, the fear could come from anywhere. But what we're trying to do with energy leadership is about opening up that lens. So having that ability to ask yourself, how is fear standing in your way? How is it that you view fear? Is it from a level 1 perspective, saying, oh, why does this always happen to me? Or is it from a level 3 that we've just touched upon, which is how can I cope or tolerate this fear that I'm currently experiencing? Or even better, when we touch level 5 is all about curiosity, becoming curious about the fear, or becoming curious about digging deeper into your value structure and better understanding why is it that triggering the fear. So remember, this is about building awareness. And with awareness, you've got more choices and you're not stuck in a default energy level, let's say, something that you've always been used to doing. Thank you. So I would suggest that we get into level 4 and then there'll be time again for more questions. But thank you so far for the questions that you've asked. They've been great. So up until now, when we've experienced these first 3 levels of level 1, level 2, level 3, we're very much in struggle mode. So finding life hard. But level 4 is all about compassion and care and focus on others. Level 4 is the how can I help you person, the Mr. or Mrs. I'll take that on for you, also known as sort of the helper, the fixer, the caregiver. So if we think of the lower levels, all the focus has been on ourselves. What's in it for me? How can I get what I want? Level 4 is really that first time that we step outside of thinking about ourselves and we start to think about others. So it's the level of service. And level 4 is essentially the glue in organizations. So it's the people who think of others really above themselves. So they are people who work hard to make everyone else's life easier. Now, people experiencing level 4, they tend to be great problem solvers. And when decisions are to be made, they consider the implication on others before taking action. Leaders with level 4 energy have a great deal of compassion. So compassion for their colleagues. And they are inspired and inspire others around them to really serve others. So they often foster collaboration, teamwork, loyalty. Now, this high level of energy is going to lead to success by creating winning solutions for others involved. So who can relate or who can identify those people in your organization who have a tendency for level 4 energy? So the helpers, the fixers in your team, those that are always of service to others. Just pop in the chat if you can. Either it's you experience a lot of level 4 energy, or you can absolutely pinpoint that person. Great, thank you for the support, everyone saying yes, yes, yes. Either you absolutely can identify the people around you who experience this level, or it really sort of, it resonates within you. So some of the downsides of being of constant service to others is that you give, and suddenly you've got nothing left and you're burnt out or exhausted, and you find yourselves in level 1, really feeling at the effect of life, or level 2, being a little bit resentful for over-helping. Level 5, this is my favorite level. So level 5 can be thought of as Mr. or Mrs. Curiosity, Mr. or Mrs. Gosh, this is exciting, Mr. Solution, or the opportunist. So level 5 are the opportunity seekers and solution finders. So really the Richard Bransons of the world. I've got this idea of an airline. I don't quite know how to do this all myself because I don't have the knowledge, but how could I pull people together, a group of people or group of companies where together we have that knowledge? This is the energy really found in the greatest leaders in all walks of life, seeing other people as gifted and full of potential. Now, nothing is judged as good or bad at this level, and every situation is viewed as an opportunity to learn something that can help you adjust course and move forwards. And that's going to breed curiosity and a willingness to experiment. You might hear people saying things like, where can we go from here? What's the opportunity? What's going well here? What does this all mean? Might there be another way of seeing this? So level 5 leaders, or leaders with this level 5 energy, they're normally self-assured, calm, purposeful, entrepreneurial minded, confident, and they feel this sense of inner peace and fulfillment. They're really skilled at capitalizing on where opportunities present themselves. So always on the lookout for collaborative solutions. So think of Richard Branson, really looking at how to make it a win-win for everyone involved. They're in control of their lives with the belief that they can do and choose their life experiences. Now, at this level, people are accepting of uncertainties instead of focusing on changing them. So here's a question. What might be some of the benefits of increasing your level 5 energy, especially when it comes to facing change and uncertainty? So what do you think might happen to fear? So if you've got that opportunity mindset, would you be so held back by fear? Would you be so attached to a particular outcome? Or would you find just the journey in getting somewhere exciting enough? Lillian, thank you. You live in peace and fruitfulness. Absolutely, you're more at peace. You're less wanting to control everything. You are part of it. And it's a very, very different energy. Michelle, seeing futures, bringing others with you to move on. How beautifully put. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, so there's an element of acceptance, Catherine, that you've just mentioned in the chat. Absolutely. So you accept reality is the first step, and then you can work on solutions and co-creativity. Absolutely. Because you're not set on things being a particular way. Remember, we're talking about opening up our lens. Level 5, you really absolutely see things as an opportunity, and you accept them for what they are, rather than wanting to change them or mold them to what suits you better. So Icy, just keeping an eye on the time, I think I'm going to I'll open up the questions at the end. So if you don't mind letting people know, we'll do questions at the end. I'm just stopping the slideshow for the time being. So the trick to facing uncertainty isn't to reach the top level of energy or to master all the energy levels. It's to master your ability to shift your energy and the energy of those around you so that you can access the confidence that you need really to believe in your own ability to be able to handle whatever life throws at you. The way one typically thinks, feels, and acts is not based on one or even two of these energy levels, but your entire and very unique profile or energy makeup, as it's called. Now, each level has its distinct advantages and disadvantages. Shifting energy really starts with awareness. So awareness of yourself and becoming more aware of your attitudes, your perceptions, your beliefs that you hold about yourself and also the world around you. Now, that isn't just to do with what you think about yourself, but it's also to do with what you subconsciously think about yourself. Recognizing where you lie on this energy leadership framework can be quite challenging, and people frequently find it easier to discuss what can be a sensitive issue with an outsider. And that is essentially my day job. So I find it fascinating and really exciting. And at the heart of the work that I do is an assessment tool that's called the Energy Leadership Index Assessment, which incidentally has been rated by Forbes as one of the top 10 assessment tools. And as individuals, we view the world through filters based on our experiences, our values, our assumptions. And those filters are either going to limit what we see, like tunnel vision, or expand what we see, like a prism. And that's going to impact how we perceive and what we think about our different circumstances. And this in turn impacts how we show up in different situations. Throughout our whole lives, we've unconsciously developed filters, which may be holding us back from seeing our full potential of ourselves and what life and our career has to offer. The Energy Leadership Index assessment is an attitudinal assessment, so it's not a personality-based one. And the big difference being that attitude is changeable. And it really gauges how a person approaches or reacts to different circumstances and experiences. So it's a bit like having an X-ray of your brain or holding up a mirror to really uncover these attitudes, these perceptions, these behaviors. And it reveals what specific filters you've developed and how those filters are influencing the results that you're achieving. And that in turn is able to help management awareness, effectiveness, and corporate cohesion. So do get in touch if you'd like to learn more about this particular assessment. Now, better understanding supports and breeds confidence, and confidence breeds resilience. So consider these 7 levels really as this tool of reference to encourage you to think about who you are and how you could act to be able to see more possibilities, more choices. Because with increased awareness, you'll be able to see that there's more than one way to react or approach a situation. And this in turn can provide you with a sense of freedom and help you view change through this lens of curiosity, that's your level 5, rather than a burden, which is your level 1. So get used to asking yourself, what is another way to see the situation? Or how can I see it from a level 4 perspective, a level 5 perspective? And which of these levels might better serve me in achieving my desired results? After all, the only constant is change. So the secret to navigating change is really recognize how your energy is changing and which lens or which energy level you're currently operating from. So if this is something that you're interested in learning more about, or think that I might be able to help you, or you want to learn more about the work that I do with energy leadership or take the assessment, then I'd be absolutely delighted to hear from you to discuss it further. I've also put together a handy resource guide with more information about the different energy levels in terms of what we've covered today, so that you can really practice and recognizing the energy levels in yourself, also in other people. So if you want a copy of that, just drop me an email. I'll also send one to you, Fisher, so that you can also filter it out to people. And I'll leave my contact details also at the end of the slide, right at the end of the presentation. Now, as we're coming slowly to a close, and I'm mindful of your time as well, and with everything that you've learned about energy leadership today, I've got a final question for you. Which level of energy are you wanting to spend more time in now? If you don't mind just popping that in the chat box. So which level of energy would you like to start spending a bit more time in now? So there's lots of level 5s coming up, and absolutely there's so many benefits to level 5. So it would make total sense that we all want to step a little bit more into that solution finding, opportunity thinking. And Sunshine is saying, get motivated and take actions to gain better results. Yeah, spot on. Absolutely. So thank you really very much, everyone, for listening, for your attention, for your brilliant questions, for the interaction in the chat, for those of you who could chat. And really a very special thank you to Fisher Yu for the invitation, and also for IC Chu for all her support and brilliant translations. And I'd love to wish you all a very happy Chinese New Year as well. And if you've got any further questions, then I'm here for you. I'm happy to answer them now. But really a very big thank you from me to all of you.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, for your wonderful webinar for our speech for us. I think, thank you very much, Charlotte, for your wonderful speech for us. I think this energy levels give us a new way of looking ourselves and then also our organizations. I think this is quite good for us. And I realize many people learned just up to the level 5, and that's why they just choose 5. I'm sure once they learn level 6 and level 7, they will say, I would like to choose level 7. So, okay, I'm sure for that. Okay, Charlotte, I just mentioned to them that afterwards, if anyone want to learn the level 6 or level 7, they may choose to join the corporate training program rather than individuals, because we are not dealing with the individual. We are trying to deal with the corporate only, because we are only authorized to do that only.
Well, individuals, yes, just as you were saying, not mentors or coaches, no. But individuals, as in organizations or even individuals within the organizations is fine. And Catherine, I see you've got your hand up and you had a brilliant question. So in terms of applying for family relationships, how do we, when surrounded with low levels of relatives? So I think your question is saying that when we're surrounded with people who are experiencing a lot of that catabolic energy, how can we still stay up? And you hit a very, very important point, that energy is contagious, meaning that if you are with people who are very catabolic, so they experience a lot of that level 1 lethargy, apathy, oh, woe is me. It's amazing how that drags you down to their level. You suddenly find there's an expression called an energy vampire. So it sort of sucks it out of you. And let's acknowledge it's really hard when everyone around is experiencing a lot of catabolic energy to be experiencing a lot of level 5, a lot of level 6, because there's so much around you. So I think occasionally a good place to settle to start with is finding a bit of level 3. Finding ways to cope, to tolerate, to silver lining. That would be step 1. And step 2 is to see how can you see it from their perspective. So that's stepping into your level 4. So being of service. What could be going on for them to be experiencing so much of this catabolic level? And then challenging yourself and saying, what could be the opportunity here? What can I learn about myself or about this situation that could help me grow? So that's the level 5. Now, these aren't easy things. I'm saying it like, oh yeah, just step onto this ladder. But the reality is that you are aware that it's affecting you, and that we need to celebrate. And now you are at choice. Do you want to for it to continue affecting you? And if so, what does that mean? Or what might be some other options for you? And how can you start stepping into those other options? Does that help? I see a nod. Yes, it's not an easy situation at all.
Yes. Yes, actually, I agree with what you said, because recently a lot of family things, so a lot of people with low levels of energy surrounding me. I had a strong self-awareness. So I said, I start to do something, set boundaries. Boundaries in China is seldom have boundaries between family members, especially people people are your parents. It's hard sometimes.
Very hard.
So it's really, really challenging for me because of teacher Fish knows I just came back from US to China just due to my mom. And a lot of things, the past 3 months, very, very crazy. But actually, I took some actions as what you suggested. So, first, set boundaries, and second, maybe leave myself some time and some space for reflections every day. Maybe, sometimes in applying for your job is easy. Actually, when I'm doing my job, I'm always in level 5. It's fine, but the family relationship sometimes, especially in China, is really, really very challenging. But I'm fixing it much better now. But I really, really appreciate it. I think this course is really, really helpful for me because I found when you show me the chart about 5 levels, I suddenly realized why this is like this. So different family members, maybe I split them into different levels. Yeah.
Yes, and remember, like for you were saying, I'm just going to put that back on the what you were mentioning, Catherine, is that at work, you're turning up with your level 5. That's who you truly are. And yet there is a situation at home which is clearly stressful, which is clearly affecting you, where you're not able to shine as bright. So that just goes to show that this energy leadership, it's not about personality, it's about attitude, and it's about how we view the situation. So that there's generally, when we view things as hard or difficult, it can be around a little bit about judgment, seeing things as good or bad, or wanting things a particular way and only accepting them that way. Element of fear, as you say, it's very difficult to set boundaries with our parents. And I would say irrelevant of the nationality. Let's say it's worldwide. And also this element of attachment. And all of those are going to sort of, in a way, affect how we show up in situations which are predominantly catabolic.
Yeah. Thank you. This sharing is very, very helpful for me. I suddenly realized that I need to maybe more wisdom. In a more effective way. Because it's a daily dealing with parents for maybe need to about half a year. And also my mom was ill. She just had an operation. So her levels of energy and also needs of mine and a lot of things that were all come in Beijing for Spring Festival. So a lot of things, a lot of people come here. So give me high pressure actually. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much. This webinar is very, very helpful and useful. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing your question, because many of us can relate at different points of our life to what you've explained. So thank you for being vulnerable and showing something really very intimate about what's going on for you. But I hear you. I've been there at certain points of my life as well. Schofield, sorry, you've been waiting patiently with your hand up. How can I help?
Hi, how are you doing, Kat? So actually, I guess all of us are quite impressive by this energy level theory, right? So I guess based on this theory, I just got 2 following questions. So for the first one, I just want to know if a person was allocated at the level 4, for instance, so whenever he or she encountered a hurdle or issues in their work or life, so I just want to know if they're gonna been through or go through all the process from level 1 to level 4, or they can just instantly jump into level 4 or level 5.
Brilliant question. Thank you so much for asking that. So you don't have to slowly go up the ladder. So you can absolutely go from level 1, where you're lying on the sofa thinking, oh, this is just awful, why does this always happen to me, to suddenly going to level 3. So you've jumped level 2 and you go into, well, this happens to me because I see it in this particular way. So let's try and see it from another way. and you've bounced out. What I love is level 2. And I'll explain to you why, because a lot of people are quite scared of conflict and anger. But remember that level 2 is also the fighter energy. So when things annoy you enough, they can absolutely shoot you into action. So you are able to go from a level 2 to a level 5, getting so frustrated with yourself or with the situation that you can't handle it anymore. And instead of going, well, how can I cope? How can I?
Okay, Charlotte, one more thing. I just want to ask you.
I had to finish with Schofield as well, Fisher. He had 2 questions and I was partway through question 1.
Okay, good.
Yeah, thank you, Charlotte, for your time. For my second question is that I remember you mentioned the energy level from level 3 to level 5 are all from the anabolic energy, right? So, and you also mentioned that from these levels, it got its own pros and cons. So I'm not sure why the energy level from 3 to 5 has its own cons or pros, because I think that's all positive, right? So I just want to know what's the disadvantages of these 3 levels. Thanks.
Brilliant question. See, this training could go on for 3 hours. So there are disadvantages to every level, even level 7. And the reason being is that occasionally, so let's say the disadvantages of level 4 is you can occasionally give so much to others, and without proper boundaries in place, then you end up, all your energy is gone. And you can either be lethargic and apathetic, so you're sitting in level 1, or you can be disappointed, frustrated, resentful. That's your level 4. So if you're not careful, you can easily shift out of the energy levels. Some disadvantages of level 5 is, remember, level 5 is about opportunity. But what happens if you see so many opportunities everywhere? How do you know which one to choose? So one of the disadvantages is that you can get something called analysis by paralysis. So there's so much out there, you don't know where to start. And then suddenly you feel stuck and overwhelmed. And you've gone from your level 5 space to level 1. It's all just too much. And as you go up, what happens is you end up starting to pull slightly more away from, I don't want to say reality, but level 6 is all about connection and synthesis. But it means also that you're not totally in tuned or grounded with everyone else around you. So one of the disadvantages are that it can be quite difficult for people to understand where you're coming from. And that's even more so in level 7, because level 7, which I know we didn't touch upon, nothing's really real. Everything is. And it's sort of, how would you say, it's about non-judgment, passion and wisdom. But with that, occasionally, it can also come this lack of connection. You might well be seen as Elon Musk, slightly sort of flying with these wonderful ideas about Mars and space, but other people can't connect with you anymore because you're just not totally grounded. So that's why there are advantages and disadvantages for each. And also some of the reasons why we've got the other 6 levels below level 7 is you need things that ground you. And that's all part of the human experience as well, that we do need to experience in level 1. We do experience level 2. And I think very few of us are superhuman who only live in level 6 and level 7. We all experience stress. And that generally brings us into catabolic energy, even if it's for a fraction of a second. We still go, oh, why is this happening? You're level 1. And then, oh, what's the opportunity? You're back in level 5. So it's all about becoming aware of how long you spend in certain energy levels, especially the catabolic energies, and questioning yourself, am I choosing to be here because it's serving me? Or am I here because I've always done it? And this is just my default. Remember, it's about opening this awareness. So we don't do things blindly anymore. We do things and we're aware of why we're doing them, how it helps, and what might be another way?
Gotcha. Thanks.
Great.
Thank you for your time.
Good question. Fisher, back to you. Sorry to have taken over.
Thank you. Thank you, Charlotte. Okay. So just one question regarding this Catherine's case just now. And since she was described the situation she had at home with her family relatives and so on. So in that level, it seems my perception is it seems she started from level 1 and then jumped to level 3. Is that something right?
Occasionally, level 3 is a brilliant level because it can absolutely just get you out of that catabolic heaviness. And it might well be that's all you can do because it's so heavy around you that actually being able to get yourself out of level 1, out of level 2, and into level 3, where you're finding ways to tolerate, to cope, to rationalize the situation, it just enables you to live to a degree that's a little less painful or frustrating that you would experience in the lower levels. So it can be a brilliant, just asking yourself, how can I tolerate what's currently going on? We can't always control what's going on, but we can question ourselves. What within me is in my control? And how can I find a way to navigate the situation, to cope, to tolerate? And then self-compassion. It might well be we can't arrive at level 5. And level 3 is just our little bit of escape, that little bit of peace before we build some more energy levels up and be able to experience some level 4, level 5. But level 3 might well be the best place we can be at that point.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Okay, good. Okay, time is limit, goes very fast. So we have to stop here. So thank you, Charlotte, very much for your time. And I'm sure there will be a lot of other people's a lot of other questions. So we will try to collect all these questions, and maybe we will try to follow up with another Q&A sessions with Charlotte through the emails, conversation, and so on. Okay, let's give Charlotte applause for her contribution, for the hard work for us. Thank you very much, Charlotte. We wish you have a good day. And thank you very much. We will come back to you shortly after with our feedback. There will be some survey from today's webinar, and we will send you this feedback afterwards. Thank
Wonderful.
you.
I'll learn Chinese by that time then.
Great. Okay.
Have a wonderful Chinese New Year, and really thank you very much, everybody, for your brilliant questions. And thank you, Fisher. Thank you, Icy, and have a lovely evening.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Charlotte. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.